Hi, everybody. Matt Croyle here on behalf of Robot Blonde and the Scribe Playwriting Competition. I would like to introduce you all to Laura Zlatos. Laura is, first off, welcome and congratulations on your play, The Blue Whale, being chosen as the winner in the full length category for the 2021 Scribe Playwriting Competition. So, hi, how are you? How's your day going?
It's a very busy day, but it's going really well. So thank you for taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you. Thanks for being a part of the playwriting competition this year. Means a lot to me, and I know that if my parents were still around, my mother would be applauding you tremendously. So first off, even though you and I had just had a quick discussion about this, why don't you let the folks watching know a little bit of background about yourself? Like, where are you from? Where do you reside now? What did, or excuse me, when did like theater and playwriting first make an impact on you? And how did you discover your love for not only writing, but also for writing specifically for the stage?
Sure. So I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I now reside in Brooklyn. I've been in New York for about 17 years. I went to
Wow.
college here. I went to NYU, and then I went and did my MFA at Columbia and then got another master's at NYU. So I think I'm like equal parts Pittsburgher and New Yorker now. Um,
That's a really nice combination, actually.
it is. There are a lot of, I think, similarities between New York and Pittsburgh, but enough differences to make it interesting.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I'd been writing most of my life in Pittsburgh. I went to the performing arts middle school there for creative writing, and I was attending writing camps in elementary school in Pittsburgh. So I always knew that I wanted to be a writer. I didn't really discover my love for theater until college. I wasn't involved in the drama program in high school because it was mostly for kids who wanted to act, and that didn't
Right.
really appeal to me.
Not really
Even though,
much focus
yeah,
on maybe like the literary aspect of things, as far as being a dramaturg or being a playwright in and of itself. So yeah, it's understandable.
right, yeah. There's not a lot of opportunities if you want to write a play or direct a play if you're in a high school drama club. So I didn't really participate in that. And then when I was in college at NYU, and the program was kind of a combination of screenwriting, TV writing, and playwriting.
Okay.
And I initially thought I was going to do screenwriting. And then I think sophomore year, I had a class with Eduardo Machado, and he really introduced me to a lot of um, playwrights that I hadn't been familiar with. And I just kind of helped me discover that playwriting was really where I wanted to use my voice. And while there are a lot of similarities, there are also so many differences. And I
Correct.
really
Yeah.
preferred the kind of less strict structure of playwriting, and I felt like it had more creative freedom
Okay.
than screenwriting. So that's kind of when I started really focusing on theater.
That's where the love came into it. So we all, as writers, have various processes, and some people, have a strict layout of how they write, when they write, and things like that. Now, do you have a specific process that maybe works for you that you've somehow figured out that is best for you as compared to like maybe other people's processes? Because I know it varies from writer to writer, and what's what works for them might not work for somebody else.
Sure. I mean, I'm not very big with outlines. I mean, I like jotting down a lot of ideas for scenes, many of which I never actually use. But
Right.
so I have, lots of ideas for once I know what I want to write. I have lots of different documents with ideas, and I write a lot of plays that require a pretty extensive amount of research, including The Blue Whale. I think I spent a year researching it, since it's based on real events. It's based
Correct.
on a real challenge, and is also deals with issues of climate change. So I spent about a year researching it before I even started writing.
Right.
Um, and then kind of continued researching as I was writing, especially because it was so topical. It was still unfolding as I was writing
Right.
it.
Yeah. Um, which leads to my next question. I figured we could probably, some of this would overlap, and it totally does with this. Um, I often think of writers as not only storytellers, but in a sense, recorders of history. In a way, they can capture a certain period of time within their work. Now, do you think that that's an integral part of the lucid process of playwriting, or is it something that just kind of automatically, intrinsically transfers to the work, maybe without us even realizing that it's doing that? Now, specifically for something like The Blue Whale, your play, The Blue Whale, like you said, you sat down and actually did a bunch of research. So I guess then my question would be, do we have that kind of transfer of history maybe without being aware? Like, say you weren't specifically writing about, what you're doing with that play. Does it transfer, do you think? Or do you think it's important that we, as writers, playwrights, screenwriters, that we decide to maybe to do that on purpose? Or do you think that there's a give and take to it if there's more of a flow to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of varies. A lot of what I write really does speak to the current moment, but also kind of shows how maybe things have or haven't changed over time, and will
Right.
also speak to the future. But I mean, I know plenty of writers who don't really consciously do that, and I think anything you write becomes a part of history, whether it's just your history, or if it actually gets seen somewhere, then it becomes a part of a kind of greater history. And
Right.
so I think anything that's, any type of art automatically, whether you're consciously trying to make it a part of history or the zeitgeist, it automatically becomes, whether at a smaller molecular level where it's just you, or kind of a greater level where, it's getting performed and written about, and people are going to actually remember it in 10 years.
Right.
I mean, many things I've written will not be remembered by anyone but me or my parents. But
And I'm sure you have a lot of things that you've written that, might never even get read. I mean, I know I do. I have tons of things that it will never be finished, that will never be read. There's just, it's always, to me, I guess, the finish line, the real true finish line, is just getting the thing written, getting it completed. And like, that's always just such an amazing feeling when that does actually occur. So please tell everybody about your winning play, and perhaps maybe the process that guided you to writing the Blue Whale.
So the Blue Whale, which actually takes its name from an online challenge that sort of began in Russia, but became this kind of crisis all over Europe. Parents were really concerned about it, and it affected some people outside of Europe as well. But it's a lot more well known there. So here I've noticed a lot of people aren't really aware of it, although there are so many online challenges that have had, kind of very extreme negative impact from people getting injured or dying. And so with this, they call it a game, but obviously it's not. But it occurs over 50 days. And so the tasks that are in my play are all taken from the actual game or challenge.
Yeah.
And so there's an administrator who seeks out vulnerable, mostly young adolescent girls who, are struggling with depression and mental illness, and, aren't getting the help that they need. And so this administrator would target them and manipulate them into doing these tasks that over the course of 50 days, it's supposed to end with them committing suicide. And it did, in fact, end in a lot of deaths. And so the play tells a story of two sisters who are playing this game, and how it's affecting their life as they're in high school, and their relationship with their parents, and who are, in my play, marine biologists. And so the play also ties a lot into climate change, and specifically whale beachings, which has been, increasing all over the world, but is specifically a problem in Marin County, where the play is set, and where there's also a really high national suicide rate. And so that's why I chose that location as opposed to Russia, where the game was initially created. And so I guess how it started, a friend of mine who is a brilliant director read an article about this story. And at this time, there was very little information in English about the Blue Whale Challenge. So she found, some article, I think it was, a UK article, and sent it to me. She knew I was kind of looking for my next project and inspiration, and she knew that this was kind of the type of story that would interest me. And I just became fascinated with it, and, kind of went down the research rabbit hole where you're just learning more and more about it.
Well, awesome. That's great. As a playwright, I'm going to try to keep this as quick as possible. And also, I noticed something. Are your books on your bookshelf behind you in color-coded order?
They are.
Okay. I just wanted to point that out. That I think that's amazing, and that's something that I would do.
Thank you.
So if you had some tidbits of advice, some knowledge that maybe you could kind of pass on to some aspiring younger playwrights, or people that maybe have an idea of maybe possibly trying to write a play, what would you share with them?
One piece of advice that I still struggle to take myself that I think is important is to always celebrate your wins, no matter how small they may seem. Yeah. So it can be, just finishing a play is a huge accomplishment. Being named a semifinalist in a contest, I think there's so much rejection and disappointment in any artist's life that it's really important to celebrate the wins, and to also realize that something that may seem like a failure isn't necessarily. And I've had a lot of things that may seem like a failure actually then lead to something else great. And so I think that helps just to kind of keep going. And then I would also say just read, watch, consume as much art of all kinds, music, dance, visual art, just as much as possible. I know that's how I get a lot of my inspiration. So, definitely see plays, but don't just go to the theater. Do other things, live life, and consume as much art as possible.
That is some sound advice, Laura. Thank you very much. And again, congratulations on the Blue Whale. And thank you for being a part of this year's the Scribe Playwriting Competition.
Thank you.